Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we have a game on Sunday, and it's a must win game. We need to talk about that, all the news that came out today, and let's just figure out what we can do to hopefully win this game on Sunday because it will be ugly if they don't. Let's drop a little intro and we'll get right into it.
What's going on, my man? Uh-oh. It might be me. I can't hear you, so it might be me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, of all ages. I had a guest, and I don't know what happened. He was. Can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me? Should we restart? Can you hear me? There's some technical difficulties. Can you hear me? I don't know what happened. Let me know if you can hear me. What's up, everybody? We got a lot of stuff to talk about. I had a guest with me, and I don't know what happened. We lost the guest. Okay, we're working now. That's good. Now I need to get my guest back in. All right. Well, hopefully, yeah, we got him back. Here we go.
There we go. Okay.
There we go. Okay, technical difficulty. You know what? Things are falling apart here, just like they're falling apart in Santa Clara.
Okay, so it wasn't my fault. Okay,
No,
it was your fault.
it's my fault.
I was tripping for a hot sec because, I'm in a. If you guys can't tell with the camera, I'm in a different setup right now. I'm not even home, but good. We're on track.
All right, I had to bring back my guy Rohan, man. I had to bring him back because we need some therapy tonight. We got a game on Sunday, and it's looking kind of grim, man. Debo's out, Armstead's out, Greenlaw's out, Kyle Juszczyk's out. I don't know what to tell everybody, man. Those are big losses, especially Debo Samuel. Obviously, Brandon Ayuk and Jeff Wilson Jr. are gonna, or not Jeff Wilson Jr., but well, him too. But Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk are gonna have to pick up a big time amount of slack on offense, especially Ayuk. He's been their best receiver this year, honestly. 15 catches for 160 something yards the last 2 games, 2 touchdowns. He's been a monster lately, but they got to give him more touches. And now CMC, he gets a lot more action, obviously, in the game. But Debo, man, he traditionally just dominates the Rams, and that's going to be a huge loss for us. So, what are your thoughts heading into this game on Sunday?
I think overall it's intriguing. I was actually a bit surprised. I did not think the 49ers would rule all three players out. I thought that they would be game time decisions, but it's clear the 49ers prioritize the health of star players right now, especially after maybe seeing a couple of players come early from injury last week. Talking about Trent Williams came back, Nick Bosa came back, and as well, Jimmy Ward came back from his broken hand. So now you saw three really key players being ruled out. And I can't lie, this diminishes the 49ers' chances of winning this game. Debo Samuel has obviously been a key piece, but it's not only Debo Samuel. Yes, Brandon Ayuk has had an amazing year this year, to what you expect out of the wide receiver 1-2 punch. But Debo Samuel has been the guy who has killed the Rams consistently. He, in his last 4 games, has averaged over 100 yards receiving and averaged a touchdown a game. He himself has the control to dominate the game, be it in the out of the backfield or as a receiver, because he consistently missed his breaks tackles, and that allows the 49ers to get in a rhythm. But to me, that's not even the biggest loss for the 49ers. I think Dre Greenlaw is the most understated loss of this entire lineup. Why? The 49ers saw what happened last week when Dre Greenlaw exited the game. He didn't have a great game. Hasn't had a great 2 weeks after a very phenomenal start to the year following the poor week 1. But Dre Greenlaw with him out, Azeez Al-Shire obviously out as well. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles was inserted in the game, and he was up and down, missed a couple of tackles, missed a tackle on Juju Smith-Schuster that eventually led to a touchdown in the red zone. It's not the same, and I think this is going to force the 49ers to be more reliant on their depleted defensive backs. I think you're going to see a lot more nickel, and I don't know if that's the best formula for success, given that the 49ers are seeing issues in that area with health as well.
Yeah, I agree. I honestly, man, you can't understate the loss of Greenlaw. I agree with that. I mean, when I saw the news, I was like, okay, Debo's a massive loss. But I honestly agree with you. The second biggest loss I saw on that list, I was like, God, Greenlaw is so huge because he sets the tone in that defense with his energy. The run defense, it just doesn't seem like it's the same. Obviously, they're missing Armstead too. They can't plug the gaps in the run. But Greenlaw out there, man, you're right. Flanagan Fowles, he's not the same as Greenlaw. I mean, Greenlaw's a guy that went in and got a big extension this year. They expect him to be out there making big tackles, and that's what he does. He was leading the team in tackles, and he's a guy that just goes sideline to sideline, stops big runs, and that's a huge loss because they are going to get gashed if they're not careful. They've been getting gashed in the run game the last 2 weeks. I mean, we saw Mecole Hardman last week sweep them to death. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, big touchdown on them. The week before, the Falcons just had their way with them. So if the Niners aren't careful, they are going to get ran over by the Rams. And, the Rams know the drill. You just run the ball on these guys right now, and they're susceptible. And then without a backfield or a secondary right now that's, healthy, without Emmanuel Mosley, this secondary has been kind of falling apart. And I like what you said there. I think they are being safe, and I think in the end of the day, they did the right thing holding these players out because we saw what Charvarius Ward looked like last week. Nick Bosa, Trent Williams coming back from injury, he just didn't look like themselves. So if they would have thrown Debo out there and Greenlaw, they might have got hurt again, and they probably wouldn't have performed as well as they should. And they got the bye coming up, so hopefully they can hold on and win this game, and then you can lick your wounds and you get a couple extra week. You get an extra week to recover. But definitely going to be a tough game because those are key losses. And Kyle Juszczyk in the run game, such an important part of that run game. I mean, I want to ask you, how do you think they're going to be able to replace Kyle Juszczyk? I know Kittle's there. I know they're going to have Ross Dwelly, but how effective can they be in the run game without Juszczyk, especially the run game being the key for this 49ers offense?
Yeah, I mean, Juszczyk has obviously been an understated part of the 49ers offense for so long, not only because he's the best fullback in the NFL, but because the 49ers are able to deploy 21 personnel with him. They're able to just get these mismatches because Juszczyk on a linebacker is a mismatch. Juszczyk on a defensive end especially is a mismatch, and his capabilities in the run game are important. It allows the 49ers to scheme in different ways because you don't know what Kyle Juszczyk is going to do on a single given play. And so without him, it changes the scope of things. Do you want to insert Jeff Wilson Jr. in there? If you do, you are probably going to sacrifice in the physicality and the blocking that Kyle Juszczyk brings, which then is a detriment to your run game. But it also probably provides you with the versatility that Kyle Juszczyk could have provided because Jeff Wilson Jr. has the requisite kind of traits. Or do you want to put Ross Dwelly in? If Ross Dwelly's in there, that versatility's gone. The 49ers know you're not handing it off to Ross Dwelly. The 49ers know that, defenses know that the 49ers are probably going to run behind Ross Dwelly, although Dwelly has been a part of those fullback packages before and can operate as a receiving back out of the backfield. He was seen at times in the offseason, actually, as a fullback when Kyle Juszczyk was taking some days off, I believe. So those are the two prime options that I'm seeing. I wouldn't be surprised if either goes, especially now with the integration of Christian McCaffrey, which allows Jeff Wilson Jr. not to be expendable, but to be utilized in maybe a different role to provide a spark in the offense. So I think that Juszczyk is a huge loss, especially in the run blocking, because him and George Kittle have been underrated run blockers in general.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely underrated run blockers. You can't just, nobody appreciates just how much they do in that department. And you're right. When they're gone, you see it. You're like, why is the run game not going in? And you're right. This is a huge loss. Hopefully they get creative, like you said, and they can figure out. Now, you did mention a guy that's maybe expendable in the offense, Jeff Wilson Jr. There's a comment here. It says, you think the Niners will make him trade again? Now, Jeff Wilson Jr. rumors have kind of surfaced today. Jeremy Fowler says the Niners are taking trade offers on Jeff Wilson. So we're going to shift gear a little bit. So I know Jeff Wilson Jr. can still be a big part of this offensive, performance this weekend. He's been running really well, 11th in the NFL, 454 total rush yards. He's ran well. Elijah Mitchell's hurt, but he's coming back after the bye. This could be a game where they're like, let's feature Jeff Wilson Jr., feed him the ball, go crazy, and then they trade him the next day. Like, this could be a game where Jeff Wilson Jr. goes crazy, and then they might trade him. I mean, do you think they make the trade? Do you think it's just noise, smoke out there? Or do you feel like they might actually definitely trade him? Because they did give up a lot to get Christian McCaffrey. They do need maybe a cornerback, some depth, or a defensive lineman. They can go a couple ways with this. What do you think on the trade possibility?
I think the trade possibility is very intriguing. And before I say this, it's interesting because in the offseason, I have the exact date, August 20th, I said that Jeff Wilson Jr. could be a potential trade candidate in 2022. I said that. My stance on that has changed a bit because of the way the 49ers running game is kind of moved on. The reason being, Jeff Wilson Jr. is more valuable to this team now than he was back then, because I thought Jordan Mason could have emerged as a bigger candidate. You obviously had Trey Sermon and TDP as well in the mix that were splitting the second team reps with Jeff Wilson Jr. behind Elijah Mitchell. Sermon was even getting first team reps over Jeff Wilson Jr. So at that point, getting a fifth or a sixth round, likely a sixth round or a seventh round pick for Jeff Wilson Jr. would have been feasible because you had the running back depth. But it's clear now what the running back rotation is now. And I wrote an article a week and a half ago clearly stating the importance of multi-dimensional backs in the 49ers offense. What do I mean by that? The 49ers have seen a significant decrease in efficiency in 2022. And yes, that's with Jeff Wilson Jr., but that's because there's only one running back that has been a primary focus in the offense, making it one-dimensional. Now you have Christian McCaffrey, and Elijah Mitchell isn't back. He's going to be back after the bye week. But can you really depend on both of those two players with injury history staying healthy? No. And if you can't, then you're set back to that one-dimensional back, which it's not that McCaffrey's one-dimensional, but you only have one person that the defense has to kind of rely on. Whereas in 2019, when the 49ers were the most efficient they've been in the Kyle Shanahan era, they had two and even three running backs in Matt Breida, Tevin Coleman, and Raheem Mostert, who led to that high-efficient offense in 2019. I think the value of a sixth-round pick over the value that Jeff Wilson Jr. brings is none. So I don't think that you should make this move now, whereas you could have in the offseason given your depth then. And I think that Jeff Wilson Jr. should remain a 49er. It would be foolish at this point, unless you're truly selling on the season, which again would be, in my opinion, a foolish move given your players to trade Jeff Wilson Jr. at this point.
Yeah, man, it's a tough situation to be in because I think you're right. I think in the offseason, with all the hype that surrounded Jordan Mason and Ty Davis Price, and you were like, oh, wow, this backfield's so crowded. I think it would have been a great move to make. But now there are a lot of injuries. And even if Elijah Mitchell comes back, can you guarantee that he's going to stay healthy? You honestly can't. He's missed a lot of games through his career in 2 years. So you need depth. And they haven't really shown much trust in the younger guy. Jordan Mason, I don't even see him out there on the field, right? And then Ty Davis Price, he's a rookie. He's going through the motions as well. So Jeff has played good. I know he's had some mistakes, the fumbles and stuff. But the only way I say trade it, because if they don't trade Wilson, you get nothing in return next year, and then he's going to go to the free agent market. And the better he does, the better his market looks like, right? So I think that's the only thing the Niners would be thinking of. Okay, if we don't trade him now, we're not getting anything from him because he becomes a free agent. So it is something they're going to look into, and it really depends. I mean, if they don't trade him by Sunday, they have one more day, and it really depends on how this game pounds out on Monday. If they get torched in the secondary, I wouldn't be surprised if they make a move for someone like Greedy Williams or something like that. Like, honestly, I don't. Because I'm telling you, man, Emmanuel Mosley was a huge loss to me. Like, ever since they've lost him, they're getting burned in the passing game. And I know it's only 2 games. It's a short, time frame. But still, like, I feel like maybe getting another secondary player would help. And I know Jimmy Ward out there has come back. But now they're throwing him in the nickel position, and he doesn't seem too happy about it. So they kind of have some issues that going on in that secondary. I know they have some younger players, Lenore and Womack and Ambry, but they're young, thrown into the fire. I wouldn't mind getting a cornerback, but I do think that you're right that if they were to trade away Jeff Wilson Jr., it would really hurt their offense because you're right. It forces teams to just key in on one guy, and exactly what you said is in 2019, They had a multitude of those running backs. They were able to go Breida, boom, Mostert, boom, Tevin Coleman, and defenses were like so on their heels. They didn't know what the heck was going to happen because they were able to rotate. And this year, I feel like you're right. They have one guy. Team stacked the box. Debo comes in. You know when Debo comes in, he's going to run out of the backfield. So it's not catching anybody by surprise. So in that sense, yes, trade him. But in the other sense, it's like I could see it helping them if they desperately need a certain position. So it's a tough situation to be in, man.
No, definitely. I agree. It is a tough situation. And speaking on the nickel backs and speaking on the defensive backs in general, I think it's imperative in a way that Jason Verrett plays at the level that we fans expect Jason Verrett to play. Because if he doesn't, the 49ers aren't going to see improvement in the secondary. Jimmy Ward should not be. I just released an article. He should not be playing in the nickel, especially with this hand injury. Why? Jimmy Ward, the primary reason that Jimmy Ward's an excellent coverage safety is because he's able to jam players at the line of scrimmage. He's able to be physical and utilize his hands. Well, guess what? He has a broken hand. He can't utilize that hand, which he joked about now not causing him to have any penalties. But Jimmy Ward got killed in this past game because he couldn't utilize those hands to jam players at the line of scrimmage, which means they just sprinted by him in coverage, because playing in the slot without being physical is the toughest thing to do, because you can't force them to the sideline. You're too far out. You can't force them anywhere, really. They have all the direction to go. And so to me, I personally believe that it's better to play Jimmy Ward at free safety and have him play in his versatile role that made him such a talented safety. Play in the box, play a bit in the slot, play overhang. Let him use the other parts of his talent that made him the player he is today. His instincts, his capability, and yeah, his physicality apart from his hand in tackling in general. Let him utilize those aspects of his game, which are best found when he's playing free safety. That's why I don't think that it's a good idea to continue to play him in the nickel, especially against Cooper Kupp. I think he's going to see action. He admitted it, even though you said it. He does not want to play the nickel. And it's unfortunate for him because he's in a contract year. The 49ers are doing him wrong pretty much, because you want to see a player play where they're normally playing, especially in an injury-ravaged year, to see if it's worth paying him $35 million. Teams do not know if they can pay Jimmy Ward a big-time contract right now, because they don't know where the first game he's shown, he's way out of shape. It's not way out of shape, but he just did not look good.
Yeah. No, 100%. No,
And so,
you're not wrong. He was out. I mean, he's been injured all season, and it's nobody's fault. It sucks. He came in, he got hurt, whatever the case is. He's been dealing with the hamstring. Now he got the broken hand. You're playing him in a position that he played when he was a rookie in the league, and obviously it was a failed, project. Like, they tried to bring him in as a cornerback when he was younger in the league, and he was a young player. He's a team player. So you know what? They're gonna tell me to jump. I'm gonna say how high, and he earned his respect. He had injuries, so he's like, shit, whatever they need me to do, I got to do it, because I don't want to get cut from this team. And he was a loyal guy, and he did he paid his dues. Now he's a 9-year veteran in the league. He's your longest tenured player, and he's a captain. And you go tell him, okay, we don't want you to play free safety. The position he came back and re-signed for and told you, I want to play this position because this is where I feel the most comfortable with. And he looks like he's great at that position for the team. He was a top 100 player at that position. And like you said, when he's free roaming Jimmy and he can do his thing where he can go out and play coverage, he could come in the box and kind of do what he needs to do and be that eraser that he is, that's where Jimmy's effective. Obviously, having one hand is going to make anybody less effective, especially against a guy like Travis Kelce. I don't even give him any crap because he was up against one of the best players in the league. And now you got Cooper Kupp. You say, okay, we're going to throw you in the slot in a position that you're really not tailored for in a contract year. To me, it's disrespectful to Jimmy. I feel bad for the guy because you're right. They're messing with his coins. Contract season, you throw him out there. If he has another bad game, teams are going to be like, oh, we don't want Jimmy Ward. He looked terrible against two elite players, Kelce and Kupp. It's a bad move for Jimmy Ward and his future. But again, I'm not a coach, so maybe D'Amico knows something that I don't know. But man, oh man, it doesn't look like it's a good situation brewing there. And I get it. Tashaun Gibson's played well, and I give him a lot of respect for
yeah. And I
stepping
mean,
in.
real quick,
But
on the Tashaun Gibson topic, everybody has pointed out Jimmy Ward shouldn't take Tashaun Gibson's spot because of how well he's played. I'm going to give Tashawn Gibson credit. He has played well, definitely above expectations for what the role was, and he was great in the first 2-3 weeks of the season. But to act as if Tashawn Gibson is a top 10 safety in football just because PFF says so, that's not the truth. Tashawn Gibson hasn't necessarily, like, he's an all right safety. He's
Not bad.
probably an average, maybe an above average safety this year. But Tashawn Gibson hasn't been this elite player that people are trying to point him out as because they see a PFF grade. No, he gives up catches and coverage. He isn't like the 49ers have tried to implement him as a big nickel. It doesn't always work. He sometimes holds. He sometimes gives up these big catches just because it's not a good matchup. He is good in an overhang role, which is where I'd prefer him to play. I'd prefer him and Ward to play the overhang role and Hufanga take over Greenlaw's spot as the linebacker, with Hufanga and Ward potentially being versatile. But overall, Tashawn Gibson isn't like it's not that he's not special, but he isn't what people are portraying him to be. And so that's where I get confused when that's the sole reasoning as to not play Jimmy Ward at his regular position.
I 100% agree. Like, yeah, I think you're right. The PFF grade makes it sound and make it seem like he's a top 10 safety in the league. And I'm not bashing him because he has played good. And
he's a good tackler. He's a good
yeah,
tackler. It's just you got to understand. Yeah,
he's not better than Ward at that free safety position. Like, at the end of the day, if I needed one play from each, big play, I'm taking Jimmy Ward 9 times out of 10 because I just trust him. He's a better player. He's a top 100 player. And I know Gibson's played in this league for a long time. He's a solid veteran. He's a Pro Bowler in the past, and that's why they brought him. They're like, okay, if Jimmy Ward's hurt, we need a guy that can come in, and we don't have to teach him the playbook, and we can kind of feel comfortable. And he's done his role so good. But Jimmy Ward is your freaking captain, man, and I just feel bad for the guy. And again, I know he's kind of coming in off injury, and maybe you're just trying to keep all the best players you can on the field. But to me, Jimmy Ward's best position is that safety position. So I don't know, man. Hopefully they figure it out. I just feel bad for Jimmy because they're messing with his coins, and that's the way I see it. Is it the contract season, man?
yeah.
He wants to get the bag, and now I don't think he's gonna get as much that he could probably get if he plays in this nickel position. I don't know if he's gonna come back to the Niners. He's been the longest tenured player on this team, and I don't know if he's coming back. And maybe the Niners are okay with it because they're like, okay, well, Gibson's 32, Jimmy Ward, you're pretty much you're pretty much old. You're on your way out. We don't need to get you. Maybe they will draft a safety, but they could have drafted a safety this offseason. They could have got Nick Cross, but they went and got Ty Davis Price.
Nick Cross was my pick. Yeah, I know.
Guy. And another
I'm not going to lie. I was at the 49ers draft party and I was shocked when it was Nick Cross. I was shocked when it was Ty Davis Price, but hindsight, oh well.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's hindsight. We could sit there and look back. It didn't happen, but I was just as surprised as you, my man. Oh, God. But moving forward, again, let's hope this defense bounces back. They got a big task against the Rams. One guy we haven't talked about yet, Christian McCaffrey. They're going to give full go this week. He's got the playbook. He's been in practice. Last week, we got a little bit of an appetizer with him. He looked good. What are your expectations of Christian McCaffrey this week? Is he going to be the hero now that Debo's out this week?
I think that Christian McCaffrey should see an increased role this week. Overall, Christian McCaffrey has been obviously a great player for the 49ers in his short tenure here. Last week, 8 carries, 38 yards. But really, I was super impressed with what I saw from Christian McCaffrey. He's what the 49ers running game has missed thus far. And what do I mean by that? He has the ability to hit the outside zone, and his vision is unlike any other. Ty Davis Price, Jeff Wilson, none of them have the vision that McCaffrey does. The combination of vision, patience, and requisite speed to hit the outside zone. I think that all of that is important, and Christian McCaffrey is the guy who really, really can idolize that role. Putting him in Debo's role, that could be the case. Christian McCaffrey is a better running back than Debo Samuel just because he's got better vision. And so to me, I think the concepts that haven't been there because either execution from the offensive line hasn't been there or execution from the running back and vision hasn't been there is going to now change with Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, you're going to see the 1 and 2 yard runs given how the Los Angeles Rams are going to stack the box, but you're going to see the capability of what this offense could be. And this is also, remember, without Debo Samuel, who will not play this week. So I think McCaffrey should see a significant amount of touches. I personally believe that McCaffrey will probably be the biggest contributor on offense from this game. And I'm not going to say that Jeff Wilson Jr. doesn't get any carries. I think it's still going to be somewhat of a timeshare to keep McCaffrey fresh. He's also only 1 week in the offense, but now he's fully integrated. He'll be in every single package on offense. I think I'm very curious to see how do they implement him in the red zone, because that's where they've significantly been struggling this year. And that hasn't been a case for the 49ers. They were really good in the red zone a year ago. They need to get back to that level of status, and Christian McCaffrey could help them do it by slowly chipping away at the result and forcing those field goals into touchdowns, because that's imperative for the 49ers.
Yeah, 100%. You got to put points on the board, um, especially if you want to beat these good teams. You have to put points, and I think McCaffrey can help. I think he's going to open it up again. A little bit more action in the play. He knows the full arsenal apparently, so I do expect him to kind of be a bigger role. And like you said, I still think Jeff Wilson Jr. gets in there too. And then, you don't want to overwork Christian McCaffrey, especially given his injury history. So I think that he's going to be a big focal point. Debo's out there. I agree with what you said. He's definitely a better runner than Debo. No disrespect, Debo, but Christian McCaffrey's been one of the top running backs for the last couple of years. So I'm expecting a big game from Christian McCaffrey. Now, I know you got to bounce out here in a few minutes. Any final thoughts, any final predictions, or anything you got to say before you head out, my man?
Well, I don't want to rain on the parade, but so I go by my initial preseason predictions. I don't really care about my week to week ones. I go by my initial preseason predictions. I'm 5-2 this year. I thought the 49ers would win the Bears game. I thought they'd win the Falcons game and end up right now at 5-2, 5-3 instead of, or 5-2 instead of 3-4.
Okay.
But I did have the 49ers losing this game to the Rams. The Rams are fully healthy right now,
Yeah.
coming off a bye week in which they will get Van Jefferson and Troy Hill back, the second being a key cog of that cornerback group. Remember, in week 4, the 49ers were able to operate out of the air despite an okay game from Jimmy Garoppolo, because the Rams were depleted in cornerback. They continuously targeted number 34, forget his name, and then Darion Kendrick continuously targeted him on the outside. You can't target the slot that much anymore and really focus on that side with Troy Hill there. He's a pretty solid slot cornerback and a good pickup for the Rams. Van Jefferson obviously provides you another offensive option. So overall, I think this team for the Rams is healthier. Offensive line wise, they are getting a little bit more in a rhythm. They are getting in a groove. Brian Allen, their starting center. Remember, they were on their third string center in the 49er Ram game. He is now back as well, and the Rams are fully rested off a bye week. I think that this is best case scenario for them, because the 49ers are also down Debo Samuel, Dre Greenlaw, and Arik Armstead, on top of Kyle Juszczyk and Javon Kinlaw. That's five key players that could have had a chance to play that aren't going to play this week. A lot is stacked up against the 49ers.
Yeah.
Can they pull this off? Yes. Is this a must win? It's as close to a must win as you're going to see, because the 49ers are already 3-4. They have the division lead against the Rams right now. If they lose that, then it's up to conference play, which then is taken out of their hands. If they win this game, they are set, because they now reclaim that spot in the division right behind Seattle, depending on what they do. But they have the lead over the Rams, in that if they end in a tie, the 49ers make the playoffs. I don't know if more than 2 teams make the playoffs this year out of the NFC West, and Seattle's looking good. We'll see how it happens, but yeah.
Yeah, 100%. To me, this is a must-win because of everything you just mentioned. If the Niners lose, that's 3 straight games heading into a bye week with all these. That's chaos.
Yeah.
That's too much negativity to think for 2 long weeks. They have to win this. You got 2 losses in a row. You underachieve. You can't go into this bye week with a loss. Obviously, like you said, the Rams are coming in. Good situation for them. They're getting healthy. They had a bye week. If they win this really puts us in a tough situation in the NFC. NFC is kind of weird. And I said the same thing early in the week. I think only one team makes it out of the NFC West with the way the NFC is going right now.
That is a very fair statement. Yeah.
Win this division. I agree, man. It's going to be tough, but I hope your prediction is wrong, because I know you said you've only lost 2 this year. Let's hope you make it 3 losses this year, and the Niners get this done, because if they lose and they go into the bye week 3-5, oh, it's going to be an ugly 2 weeks on 49ers Twitter, my man. Oh, God.
Yeah. The one solace that I will give 49er fans is that Tom Brady is 3-5 right now. Aaron Rodgers is 3-4. There are a lot of underperforming teams this year. Let's see how the 49ers can respond from the loss last week, because they are going to need significantly better execution on both ends of the field. And the odds are stacked against him, as I said. Rams are healthier, 49ers are getting worse in regards to health. So they're going to need to step it up, and certain players will have to play a bigger role. Offensive line will need to play well. The defensive line specifically is going to have to regain their form that they had, because remember, the reason the Rams scored only 9 points in week 4 was because the 49ers had a crazy 34 pressures in the
Yeah.
game, pressuring Matthew Stafford nearly 50% of the time. There was a stat my guy Jordan Elliott put out today. When Stafford's been pressured around 25% of his dropbacks, he's won all 3 games. And the 3 games he's lost, it's been near 40%. And I'm not going to say that the 49ers have to hit that number, but that's a good cog. And I think the 49ers will need significant pressure, which means DeMeco Ryans will have to figure out ways to scheme those guys open, those defensive linemen in favorable matchups, especially with Samson Ebukam still favoring that Achilles,
Yeah.
the Achilles injury. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was actually just going to segue to that because one thing we didn't talk about, Nick Bosa, last week he didn't have his best game. They kind of chipped him out of there. And the last 2 weeks, the Niners have not been able to generate pressure. Just like you said, they have to be able to put pressure on Stafford because traditionally they've beaten Stafford with getting to him, getting a guy in his face, force him to throw interception because he's very susceptible to making those mistakes. Nick Bosa, I think, what do you have? 14 pressures the last time they played him, and
Yeah.
14 freaking pressures. He lived in the backfield. This last couple games, I think they've only had they haven't even had double-digit pressures as a team. So you're absolutely right. They have to figure out a way how to get this defensive line to get in that backfield and pressure Stafford, make mistakes. So I agree. Nick Bosa has to have a masterclass type game. Maybe Drake Jackson, Ebukam, somebody's got to step up because they have been very poor on that D line. And if you're not getting pressure, it's going to take pressure off of or it's going to put more pressure on the secondary. And we talked about how, they're kind of in disarray. So it's all kind of falling apart. This is a big game, must win. Let's get some confidence. It's going to be tough. And like you said, with the Rams, they were on their backup linemen, like I think third string linemen.
Yeah. And they were also debuting a new center guard rotation as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Their O-line was just depleted that game. I remember seeing the reports and I was like, oh man, Bosa's going to heat them up. So they got a little healthier, and the bye helps your team kind of feel a little fresh. So they caught us at a good time right now for them.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. All right, man. I know you got to bounce out. I appreciate your safe travels. How's everything going with Wisconsin, man?
It's been fun. This is the bye week. That's why I am on a bit of a road trip this weekend.
Nice.
It is the bye week, but still busy, still fun, and definitely enjoying my time. It's going to be a busy end of the year.
Yeah, for sure, man. Appreciate you for hopping in. It's always a good time having you on the show, Rohan. We appreciate you. You're the smartest man in the building, my man. So keep it up. We love you, and have a good, safe rest of your trip out there.
Appreciate you. Love the fit, and I appreciate the chat as well, guys. I'll see you later. Take
care, man. It's my boy Rohan. Appreciate him for hopping in today, Friday preview show. So it's good to have Rohan. He's a good guy. He's so smart. Got to keep bringing him in on the show. So thanks again, Rohan. Appreciate you. Let's get to some questions here, shall we? This is definitely a must-win game against the Rams on Sunday. And you know what? The guy, we talked about CMC. We talked about a couple players. The guy that I really need to step up, it's my boy, Brandon Ayuk. Let's go. We need a masterclass game from Brandon Ayuk. This guy's been dominating slowly, silently. He's kind of woken up, and I think the Niners have to go out there and figure out a way to get Brandon Ayuk the ball. And I know Kittle, too. George Kittle had a big game last week on National Tight End Day. He better have had a big game on National Tight End Day. It's his holiday. He hyped it up. But I think Brandon Ayuk needs to go out there and they need to give him the ball somehow. Figure it out. They need to get this man the ball. Because you don't have Debo. Brandon Ayuk needs to take over and just say, hey, look, I'm going to assert my dominance. Jalen Ramsey, I'm going to cook you and put you in a blender. I need to see Brandon Ayuk have a big game. That's just my opinion. I don't know about you guys. Oh, wow. My man says, Sacktown says, we were injured in 2020 like crazy and still swept the Rams without Debo. Yeah, that's a good story. Let's hope that we can sweep the Rams again because the Niners absolutely need to win this game. You don't want to lose 3 straight heading into the bye week. And again, this is a division game. You have to stack the division wins. I think the Niners only make the playoffs if they can win the division. That's to me the only way I feel. I think the magic number to get into the playoffs is 10 wins. They have 3. You need to figure out how to win 7 more games. Give me 7 more games, baby. That's what you need to do. Let's see. Susan says, everyone agrees this is going to be a tough game to win, but if they lose, no one will be talking about why it was difficult. Everyone will just whine about how they suck. That's probably true. If the Niners lose, everybody's going to be down bad. We're going to be pissed off, and everybody's going to be, like you said, whining, for lack of a better word. I probably agree with you. They got to win, because if you don't win this game, it's just going to be negative. It's just going to be negativity everywhere. That's how it is. And I guess rightfully so, because you don't want to lose 3 straight games. That's tough. This is a Super Bowl, team. Everybody says it's a Super Bowl team. You can't lose 3 games if you're that great of a team. But I mean, can they right the ship if they lose 3 in a row? We'll have to find out. I hope they don't get to that point. I know last year they were at a very, very bleak point. They were 3-5, and somehow they pulled it out, and they were able to kind of step back and get to the NFC Championship. I don't know if they can do it this year if they get to that point. Last year was a whole different story, It was a whole different story, and the team was a lot different. They had Debo all of a sudden take over that wide back role, and now teams know that Debo is going to be doing that. So definitely a tough situation to deal with. So I don't know. I hope we don't lose this weekend, because it would be very, very stressful for the fan bases in a whole. So Brennan wants to know, when did Debo get hurt? I never seen him. I honestly, I'm still trying to figure out when he got hurt, because he had one big catch. He skied up. He went and got that big time pass in the air. That was his big highlight of the game. Maybe he strained his hamstring on that play and he played through it. I don't know, but it really doesn't seem like there was an actual moment. Otherwise, unless it was that point, I don't know. But he did leave the game, and ended up having that hamstring when the injury report came out on Monday. And of course, he missed practice all week. And the Niners are trying to be safe with him, and they're limiting him from playing. I guess it's the safe route, not playing Deebo Samuel. Unfortunately for the Niners, you lose your best player on offense, and you lose the guy that literally owns the Rams. He crushes the Rams every year, and now they don't have Deebo Samuel. So it's going to be tough. Let's see. I don't know if the comments are working here, but let's get back to some more questions. I want to put a little bit of a timer, see if we can reset the chat here. All right, we're back. Let's see if this chat opens up again. Doesn't show any comments rolling, but if you guys drop some comments on there, see if it's working. I do want to ask you guys, what do you guys think about the Jeff Wilson trade? Throw some comments in there if you can. I want to know if you guys think they should trade him or they shouldn't trade him. Again, we talked about this with Rohan. I'm kind of on the fence. I do feel like if you're not going to trade him next year, you're not going to bring him back. You lose him, and you don't get anything from him. And I know you have a lot of running backs, but I definitely think, like Rohan said, is we need Jeff Wilson right now, because they have a ton of injuries that always spring up, and it's always good to have depth. You don't want to run CMC to the ground. You don't want to run Elijah Mitchell to the ground when he comes back. And Jeff Wilson's played good. I feel bad for the guy. He's played his ass off. It's not that he's played bad. He's had some moments where he's made mistakes, but everybody makes mistakes on the field. He has made some turnovers, and it's been unfortunate, but I feel like Jeff Wilson Jr.'s played as good as he could, and they've been he's been thrown into the fire with Elijah Mitchell got hurt, and he stepped up, and he's been one of the top rushers in the league since he came on the team. So it's a tough situation, and I feel bad for him. It's a business, and if they don't get anything good for him, like if they get a 7th round pick, is it really worth it? And I think that's what Rohan was saying, is it's tough to really gauge if you're really getting anything out of value if you trade him for a late round pick. And I agree with Rohan. He says it's not worth it. And if you're going to get something very minimal out of him, you might as well keep him this year. But I do see the whole, aspect of them saying, well, we need to recoup some draft picks because we traded a lot for Christian McCaffrey. It's tough, That's just that way it goes. So it's a weird situation. It's a developing story. And I don't know if they're going to trade him, but I kind of have a suspicion that they will trade him. I really do. I think by Monday he might be shipped away, especially if he has a monster game. They're going to ride that. They're going to ride that, man. They're going to say, oh, God, we need to trade him based off this game. I really think they will because they're going to have Elijah Mitchell coming back in a couple weeks, and they're going to rely on him to be healthy. So we'll see. Well, that's it for tonight. It doesn't look like the comments are working here, so I think the chat might have been frozen here. I apologize, but that's what happens when your show's scorching hot, I guess. I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. I'm gonna probably hop on Instagram after I eat a little food, and we'll go from there. You guys have a good rest of your night. Let's hope the Niners get a dub on Sunday against the Rams. We do not want to see them go 3-5. I know I don't. I don't know about you. We need to get a dub on Sunday against the Rams. Must-win game against LA. Beat LA, baby. Let's go. Bang, bang, Niner gang. If you're going to be at the game, scream your head off. The Niners are supposed to have more fans at Levi's South. Obviously, it's our second home. We need to be screaming our heads off. I love you guys. Have a good night.